today. My name is Henny Kelly. And I was chosen to introduce these people. I think it's because I'm so old. I'm old enough to have known Bernie Sanders for over 50 years. I have a picture here of a sit-in at the University of Chicago. And I am the woman with the broom cleaning the floor every morning so that they wouldn't say that we weren't neat. And when my husband saw this, he was so impressed, he said, "That's the last time your mother ever used a broom." My son, however, one-upped him and said, "No, Daddy, it's also the first time she ever used a broom." But now that I'm old, I want to clean. I love to clean. I want to clean this city. I want to clean out the corporate people who are making this city not the San Francisco that I know. Want to pass Prop W. City College again will be free to the students. I want to clean out the real estate people who are evicting seniors.
Can I put my elbow out?
I want to clean this city so families can live here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be on TV.
So I promise, Dennis,
My show.
Here's my husband. Then I will use the broom to clean the city, but don't expect the house. I am here to introduce Jane Kim. Her legislation on the transportation tax on property sold for more than $5 million will bring in $45 million a year and will bring us a free city college with money left over for social services for the people who need them in San Francisco. Jane is not just a cleaner, she's a fighter. You know she has a black belt, and she has been fighting for affordable housing, good paying jobs, free community college. I am proud to say that I haven't known her for 50 years, but I have followed her for the last 10 years, and she is the real thing. She will be a senator who will fight for San Francisco and the rest of California. Please join me in welcoming Jane Kim.
We love you, Dave!
Good morning, San Francisco. By the way, today was about making sure that I am not the only one that wins on November 8th. We have to make sure that all of us wins down the ballot if we are going to truly make a change for San Francisco. And so I wanted to bring up some of our quote-unquote down-ballot candidates, our school board members, Mark Sanchez, Matt Haney, Stefan Cook, our City College Board of Trustees, Tom Champrano, Chanel Williams, and our current president, Raphael Mandelman. We have our two BART board directors here today, Bevan Dufty and Latifa Simon. And we have one of our supervisorial candidates running in District 11, Kimberly Alvarado. Cronin. Ballots started dropping on Tuesday, and this weekend is more important than ever. And I just want to thank you so much. This has been a really hard campaign for me. And seeing over $1 million come in the month of September, attacking me and my record was incredibly difficult. But what has kept me going is our supporters. And what I love so much about the campaign and the people that are out here today, the people that are willing to walk precincts, to knock on doors, to phone bank, to hold up signs on major corridors throughout our city, is that you believe in a San Francisco for all of us. My opponent is fighting for a San Francisco for some of us. But, you know, people have said that he's cold-hearted, that he's not thinking about everything. But more than anything, I think his vision is so cynical. He has said, he has actually made fun of me for fighting for 5 additional units of affordable housing. He said market rate developers can't solve our affordable housing crisis. And you know what? I agree with him. They can't alone. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to fight for that 1 additional unit of affordable housing. And guess what? I have won hundreds of units of affordable housing for our city. And I am proud of the fact that I have won more affordable housing. There's not a single development in my opponent's district where the developer built even 1 unit above what was required by law. There are very few developments in my district that haven't built 1 or hundreds more. And when those families move in, when I see the seniors move in, when I saw one of our youth couples that had lived in Golden Gate Park for over 5 years move into Avon Mid-Market, it was worth it to fight for that 1 additional unit of affordable housing. Because we are fighting for who the city is being built for. We are fighting for all of us. And when my opponent says that if you commit a car burglary and we should just throw you in jail for 6 months so you can think about it, that was a quote in the New York Times. That is also incredibly cynical. That is us giving up. When we decide that jails are our solution to poverty, to mental health, to substance abuse, that is incredibly cynical. That is not the vision that I'm offering San Francisco. It would be easy for me. It would actually be easier for me as a politician to say, I will build you a new jail. I can get that done. What is much harder for me to promise to San Francisco is that I will make the city safer.
That's right.
Because we are providing what is actually appropriate. Instead of taking $80 million from Sacramento, which they offered us back in December to rebuild a new jail, this Board of Supervisors, Supervisor David Campos, Aaron Peskin, John Avalos, and I stood up and said, we don't need another jail. We need supportive housing. So when I go to Sacramento, I want to reprogram that $80 million to build real housing here in San Francisco. To car burglary, to make that meal the next day. And so there is so much here at stake today. And I just have to tell you, thank you so much for making the unbelievable happen in June when we won despite being outspent 2-1. It gave me so much faith. And this is what we've now seen in the fall. And in some ways, I feel like I'm in Alice in Wonderland. Because now my opponent is saying that he's the progressive fighter. And this is why I love our supporters and volunteers and campaign teams so much. Cornel West once talked about how there are optimists in the world. And optimists are people that see the evidence in the world around them and they believe that things are going to get better. And he said, I am not an optimist. And I think many of us see how hard it is in the Bay Area, in a region where our wealth gap is only comparable to the country of Rwanda, according to our Human Services Agency. Our own San Francisco data has our wealth income gap comparable to the country of Rwanda.
Wow.
But we are prisoners of hope, and that is what he has said. He said, we don't see the evidence in the world around us that things are getting better. Instead, we decide to change the evidence around us so that it will.
Let's do it.
And that is what my campaign is about. It is about all of us. We can do that together. And today, I am so proud and honored to endorse, to introduce. I will endorse Bernie Sanders for president again. A man that is standing up for an America for all of us.
Yeah. People over profit.
And he has done this for decades, long before he ran for president. And for those that were so disappointed when his campaign came to an end in July, let me tell you, Bernie Sanders doesn't stop. Because he's no longer the presidential candidate for 2016. Whether Bernie Sanders is just a U.S. Senator,
We out here.
just a U.S. Senator, or even a U.S. citizen, we all know where his values and his principles are. He believes that housing is a right and not a privilege.
Human rights.
He believes single-payer healthcare is not just some far-flung vision for the future that we should talk about as an ideal.
Let's do
He
it.
believes that we can do that today.
Yeah.
Because whether you have a job or money shouldn't be a reason why you can't bring your grandmother or your son to the hospital for care.
Yeah.
He is also someone that inspired me and my team to say that making City College free again is not just a pipe dream.
Do it.
And that's why we have Proposition W.
Yeah.
An ultra-luxury housing tax, where we're asking those at the top to just give a little bit more, just a little bit more, so we can make San Francisco more affordable for all of us. We believe in free public higher education. And actually, I have to be honest, even I thought it was a pipe dream. And when Senator Sanders started talking about it last fall, I was inspired, as were many of you, as was AFT 2121. San Francisco Labor Council. So Alyssa Messer and Mike Casey came to me in my office and they said, we can make this happen. And you know what? It only cost $12.9 million to make City College free again.
Yeah.
And this tax measure is going to generate $44 million. So we are hoping that it is going to cost way more than $12.9 million to make City College again, because everyone will re-enroll and take the classes that they need and the training that they need to move on up. Because it's not just about building more affordable housing, it is about putting more money in the pockets of everyday residents. And we know that the average job available for a City College graduate with an associate's degree is $11,000 more than for the same individual for a high school diploma.
There it is.
So let's grow our middle class by making City College free again. And when this passes on November 8th, and by the way, it's polling way better than me. So I'm going to have one victory on November 8th that I can count on. We're going to make San Francisco the first city in the nation to make community college free again. And when I go to the state Senate, I hope that I will be able to work with U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders to make public higher education affordable for everyone again throughout the state of California. So I want to thank Senator Sanders because he showed us that the impossible was possible. People said his campaign wasn't going to go very far. And guess what? He took on every industry that funds Democratic Party candidates and Republican Party candidates. He took on big oil. He took on Wall Street. He took on healthcare. There wasn't an industry he didn't took on. And yet he raised a lot of money. He did.
And he got a lot of votes.
Who he raised it from? He raised it from us. He actually was the second highest fundraising candidate in last year's cycle. And he did it with donations on average of $200.
Wow.
27. I'm sorry, that was a quote stat from the summer. $27. That's even better. And that,
I gave 30
that
bucks.
is an amazing thing. And when I see billionaires throwing $200,000 or $100,000 in the race against me, or millions of dollars against U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, it is amazing when we are able to raise contributions from $3 to $27 to run our campaign. But on top of that, we are volunteer driven, and that's why we're depending on you to get out the vote today. And so now I bring up our U.S. Senator, the man that showed us not only was a progressive vision for the Democratic Party possible and popular, he also showed us that we are in fact the majority and we can win. Bernie
People over profit.
And are we going to make Jane Kim the next state senator from this district? And I know that we've got some other great candidates up here as well. Now, Jane said everything that I was going to say. Thanks a lot, Jane. But let me just pick up on a couple of points. It turns out that the vision that we share, that Jane shares, that everybody up here shares, that we want an America and we want a government that works for all of us and not just the 1%, is in fact where the American people are.
People over profit.
Nothing that Jane has said is radical or fringe. It is in fact what the people of San Francisco, the people of California, and the people of America believe in. We understand, and this is a point that many folks do not talk about. If we were a poor country, yes, I could understand people sleeping out on the streets. Yes, I could understand kids not being able to go to college. Yes, we could understand people working longer hours for low wages because we were a poor country. Brothers and sisters, we are not a poor country. We're the richest country in the history of the world. There is no rational economic reason for people to be paying 50, 60% of their incomes for housing. There is no rational reason when in a competitive global economy we need the best educated workforce in the world, that we got hundreds of thousands of people all over this country, bright, qualified young people who cannot afford to go to college. No rational reason. No rational reason, none at all, that our great country is the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a right. There is no rational reason why the pharmaceutical industry continues to rip off the people of this country and charge us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. And that, among other reasons, is why we should be in California passing Proposition 61. So what Jane and the others up here are doing is demanding that as a city, as a state, as a nation, we think big, not small.
Yeah!
And then we have the guts to take on the billionaire class and all of the moneyed interest whose greed in many ways is hurting working families.
Yeah! People over profit.
So what Jane is saying, which to me is eminently sensible, is number one, when we stand together and we do not allow the Trumps of the world to try to divide us up, there's nothing we can not accomplish. What Jane is saying is that we need to have a tax system which is fair. You know, I've been running around the country, as Jane indicated, trying to talk about a corrupt tax system, and in one day, Donald Trump did more than I have done in a year and a half. What he showed the world and every American is that you can be a multi-billionaire, you can have mansions all over the world, but if you are wealthy and powerful and know how to use a corrupt tax system, you don't have to pay a nickel in federal taxes. I'm going to do my best to change that in Washington. Jane's going to do her best to change that in Sacramento.
Let's go.
So this is not a complicated campaign. You have someone who has been a progressive her whole life, who understands, as she's just indicated, that in America people are entitled to rights. We're entitled to the right to get health care, regardless of our income. We're entitled to affordable prescription drugs. We are entitled to quality education from child care through college, regardless of our income. And we are entitled to housing that we can afford. And when we build affordable housing here in San Francisco, in Burlington, Vermont, or all over this country, we're going to put millions of people back to work. And Jane also understands that every community, from Burlington to San Francisco, throughout this whole country, has got to address the planetary crisis of climate change. And that when we aggressively weatherize our homes, and we move toward an energy-efficient transportation system and more public transit, and when we build the wind and solar and other sustainable energies that we need, not only do we lead the world in combating climate change, we're going to create many, many jobs doing that as well.
Absolutely.
Brothers and sisters, your presence here is enormously important. Because what politics is mostly about all over this country, not just in California, it is candidates going out and raising money from wealthy people and large corporations. And then they go out and they hire a consultant, and then they put TV ads on and radio ads, often lying 30-second ads. That's called a campaign. But what Jane understands, and the people behind me understand, is that there is a different way to do politics. And that is called grassroots coalition politics. And at the end of the day, the way you make a political revolution is not just through TV ads, and TV ads are a necessary evil, we all know. But the real way to do it is to mobilize people who go out knocking on doors and talking to their neighbors about the most important issues facing the community, the state, and the country. And that's what you are about. All right. I don't know at the end of the day how much more her opponent will spend against Jane, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. But we can beat that. If we mobilize ahead to go out and make sure that people vote early. Make sure that people show up on election day. And when you elect change, and when you pass Proposition 61 and the other good propositions on the ballot, California will continue its place in America as being a great progressive state whose ideas are going to help transform America. Thank you all.